Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, I want to share a couple of clips with you guys before we dive in. So let me show you what we've been up to here, the Eaton family. We have a full-blown walker. And I wanted to come on here live and just break down some of the big lessons that I have learned over the past almost 21 months with this child and her developmental trajectory. And really, what I want you to take away from all of this is like, it's going to be okay. The kid's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. We've really got to trust ourselves and our children. And I just really want to recap. It's been like she's a very late walker, you guys. She's a very late walker. And so I feel like this is a gift because now when parents ask or comment on my videos and they say they're worried about their kid or X, Y, and Z, it's like, I get it. I really, really do. And Naya's probably like, what do we want to say? Like 2%? Like, I don't really think there's a whole lot of kids that don't have a more serious, health concern or whatever that is just a delayed walker, much beyond 21 months. So I've got you covered. So let's dive into it, you guys. If you're new to my channel, hello, my name's Nicole. I am a conscious parenting mentor. I'm a pediatric OT. I'm also a certified lactation counselor. Like I forget because I've got like 7 different things going on. So I'm like, which one do I want to share with you guys? So if ever you're looking for more support in your parenthood journey, I have got you. There is a link in the description box where you can check out my website if you are into self-paced course or if you need more support, one-on-one, I have those options. Okay. So as I've like alluded to you guys, can I show you one more clip? I'm going to show you one more clip. This was like 2 days after she started walking. And I will say my children decide on special days to start walking or doing these big milestones. Kai started walking at 14 months and he chose to walk and he stopped nursing on the same day. And it was Mother's Day. Naya picked the day before my birthday to start walking. So I will never forget these beautiful milestones because my children choose to make them memorable. Let me pull up the comments here, see if I have anything. If you're joining me live, shout out where you're watching from, what's going on with you. Something else I want to open up is questions, any type of questions. It doesn't have to be about walking. I really actually wanted this live to be like a Q&A, but I wanted to dive in with the topic. So let's get into this. Naya has been in PT since 15 months of age. So around the 13, 14 month mark, I decided as an OT with the knowledge that I had, I'm like, okay, I'm not so concerned that she's not walking yet, but what I noticed she hadn't started doing that I was like, okay, we're a little behind here is she wasn't able to stand on her own and she was cruising but she wasn't really progressing beyond that. She wasn't stooping. Like, so if she were to be able to stand on her own, a lot of times kids will stoop and like crouch down to pick something up or play in sort of a squatted position. She was doing none of these things. And I thought, okay, it does not hurt to get this process started. And that's another thing I want to reiterate that I've talked about in a previous video that is actually linked in the description box. If ever you're starting to feel like you're like, we could take it or leave it. We could wait a couple of months and see, or, it wouldn't really hurt to get this process started. I will always encourage you to just begin the process, especially if it's the first time you're navigating services, whether it's occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech language pathology, because at least here in California, the process of inquiring for services and actually getting started being assigned a therapist could take months. And it really just depends on how many therapists are available, the state you're in, the process, the time it takes, getting the evaluation, all of that. So it's always better to get the ball rolling because it might be a couple of months before your child is actually able to be seen. So that's what I aired on. I was like, let's inquire, let's get the evaluation. We got the evaluation and it was like, yeah, we timed it nicely, here in California, a child needs to have a 33% delay in one or more areas. So we're talking about language, we're talking about fine motor skills, using your hands, being able to eat, gross motor skills, obviously walking, crawling, cognitive skills, or social emotional skills. So there needs to be a 33% delay in at least one of those areas here in California in order for your child to qualify for what is called the Early Start program. That is a program where age 0 to 3, any of these therapists can come into your home. Really beautiful perk. You don't have to go to a clinic or worry about transporting your kid. They come to you and they can be seen one time a week, occasionally. Sometimes it's 2 times a week. Or if they need less services, maybe it's every other week or once a month. So if you weren't familiar with that program, you might want to look into that depending on where you're located. There is probably something similar, especially here in the United States. So Naya qualified for PT and we began the services. And let me tell you guys, it was such an enigma with Naya because she had so many funky pieces going on and things that did not make a whole lot of sense to me as an OT. I'm not a PT, but there were a lot of things that perplexed me. Even being in the field of working with children who might have any sort of delay. And even the physical therapist that Naya has, I think he was really perplexed by her in a lot of ways too. There were things that he could see very clearly, and that was very helpful for me. And he would give us our homework, and we'd work on this every evening. But there got to be a point where we were like, is this behavioral? Does she just not care to walk at this point? Because we've kind of exhausted all of the physical options. We're doing the kinesio taping, which is this is a really cool tool. It's like pretty non-invasive. It's colored tape, and you can place it on muscle groups, and it really helps to give those muscles like sensory input to like contract, right? You can lengthen muscles, you can shorten muscles. There's so many different things you can do with kinesio tape. So we were putting kinesio tape on her stomach, on her back to activate these muscle groups to get her standing upright so she could start to use and fire these different muscle groups. And we were seeing some progress here and then, but she still wasn't walking after months. And, you know, here's like a big thing, a big lesson that I want to share with you guys is throughout this entire journey with the PT, I was always of the mind, I don't think there is anything seriously wrong with Naya. I think that Naya is stubborn. I think that she will walk when she wants to walk, but there are things that we could support her in to collapse the time around it, right? So it was always my intuition that she's going to be okay. And I want you guys to turn the volume up on your intuition. It's so important. And again, I've mentioned this in previous videos. We will dial that down and we give our power away to other people who we think know more, um, you know, are more qualified to speak on our children than us. It is a thing. It's so easy for us to do, even as someone who's in the field and like quote unquote knows better. It's so easy to defer our power and our intuition to somebody else who has a degree and said whatever else. And I want you to hear this. Turn up the volume on your intuition because nobody knows your kiddo better than you. It does not matter how smart they are. It does not matter how many degrees they have. It does not matter how long they've been doing this. Nobody will ever understand the multi-dimensional facets and aspects of your child better than you. And you are such an important part of your child's development and success in a therapeutic setting with other therapists. And so I need you to turn up the volume on your intuition and let that be your guide. It may not make sense. You may say, like, I cannot articulate to you why it is that I am not overly stressed or why it is that I'm going to take what you said over here, but I'm going to leave this over here, or I want to guide you completely in a different direction. And I'm asking you to support my intuition. It may not make logical sense as you try to explain this to the other therapist. It doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter. If you have a good therapist they will support you. It is about the family unit, it is about the family dynamic, and it is about honoring you as a parent and the fact that you do know your child best. So, if the therapist is presenting different scenarios or options in terms of things to work on and it doesn't hit right, like you're like that doesn't feel like it's it, please don't be afraid to speak up and say like, can we actually try this first, or can we do this instead? This doesn't seem like this is what it is. Do you mind if we explore something different? You will be surprised how accommodating a good therapist will be, in terms of meeting you with what feels good and right and true and most supportive for your child. So please don't be afraid to speak up. And on that note, the second lesson is really, again, that discernment. There were a lot of ideas thrown out over the months that we've worked together. And I'd like to say that as time went on, I got better at being like, mm-mm, nah, that isn't it, and really helping to guide the ship. And that discernment is really gonna save you so much stress. It's gonna save you so much stress and so much worry, because at the beginning, when you're listening to your therapist talk about what could be causing the delay, um, it's easy for panic to run through your body. You start thinking about the worst case scenario, and you start thinking about, what are we going to need to do, and how much time is this going to take, and what if this doesn't work? And I just again want to remind you to turn the dial up on your intuition, because in order to be effective and really supportive of your child and their unique developmental trajectory, you've got to be able to sort of compartmentalize, or at least turn down the volume on the voices in your head that's bringing you to the worst case scenario. um, we actually will learn so much more by watching our children and letting them inform us of what it is that they need. And it's hard to do that when you're in your own head, you're not present, you're not watching. There were multiple times that Naya would do things that would cue us in terms of what she needed. She would do downward dog. So she would get on, and if you guys aren't yogis, she would basically put her hands on the ground and her feet were on the ground, and she'd swing her head back and forth. And as an OT, I'm like, okay, sensory input, which was a theme in PT. She's not really registering. She doesn't understand where her body is in space. So watching her be in downward dog, swinging her head left and right, it was an indicator of like, what can I give her in this moment that's going to support her? Not what am I going to give her that's going to solve this problem today and she's going to start walking tomorrow and it's all going to be groovy. It's like, what does her body need in this moment? And the more we practice being present in the moment to moment and in the day to day, all of that accumulates. And then suddenly, when you see your child just get up one day and start walking, you're like, how did that happen? It feels like magic. Yesterday, we weren't walking and it seems like we were in the same place. And today, you just decide to start freaking running down the street like you got this. Well, guess what? It's because when we've chosen to be present in any given moment and respond to what our child is showing us that they need each moment, again, all of that accumulates, and they're going to sleep and they're learning to generalize, and they're taking the skills of yesterday and they're applying it to the skills of today. And we don't see that. They cannot communicate that. It's happening so rapidly. But then one day you wake up and your child is literally running and you think, what, huh? So staying present, letting your child kind of guide the train, and responding to what it is that they're showing you, using the discernment, turning up the volume on your intuition, and then ultimately remembering that every child's developmental trajectory looks different. Probably not as different as this. So that's the good news, is like Naya's pretty rare. She's pretty rare. Most children, like 99% of children, will walk before 20 and a half months. They just will, unless there's something very serious going on. But if your child, has no health concerns or conditions that might limit their ability to walk, your child's probably going to walk, but get the support if you feel it's going to be supportive to you, and don't create stories about why your child was a late walker or what you could have done differently. And, I think here's the last thing I want to say about this is, and again, you guys, just a reminder, if you're hopping on live now and you're catching this midstream, feel free to drop any questions you have. Any questions. This is like open Q&A. Let's just have some fun. I'm just sort of here. Hi, Teresa. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. Say hi, guys. Where are you guys watching from? And any question you have, pop it in. I got you. Here's the last thing I want to say about the walking is what was really hard, and what I have a big, like, my compassion level went through the roof for other parents who are navigating this is, when you go out in public or you're at the park with your kid and say you've got a very late walker, you have a kiddo that's still not walking 18 months plus, and, most parents with children of a similar age will be able to sort of generalize how old your kid is. And then you see the look on their face like, huh, well, the kid's older than a year. That's strange. They're still not walking. Mom and dad's carrying the baby around everywhere. Or, the other kids are on the playground on this piece of equipment, and your kid's not mentally ready for that piece of equipment yet. And a lot of times there's like an awkward interaction of other parents that are curious and want to ask. And you feeling like, "Ah, do I have to explain this to everybody?" And you don't, but it's just the feeling of um not like fitting in, it's the feeling of we have the spotlight. Like, it's apparent that my child is of walking age and isn't walking, and navigating that. I think that was something that Naya wasn't obviously aware of, and I would never make that a thing, even if my child was a little bit older and could understand, maybe there was a developmental delay. But as a parent, that the emotions start to flow with that. You think about like, oh, I don't want my kid missing out on interactions with other kids because these kids are over here playing on this piece of equipment and my kid's not ready for it yet. So those types of thoughts start to enter your mind, and you start to think like, what is she missing out on? And it is really this beautiful reminder of being inclusive, right? And we don't really think about it. It's not at the forefront of our mind. If our child is developing, typically you wouldn't think like, oh, here's another little kiddo that looks to be my kid's age. How can I include him or her in the play, in the social emotional play, even if she's not walking, or she's not ready for this piece of equipment? Because chances are the parent is feeling like, I wish my kid could be included in this, in this dynamic with the other kiddo. So I feel you if that's something that has happened during your parenting journey. You guys, I'm so sorry. Like, our whole family got hit with COVID, and your brain, holy moly, this is like the first couple of days I felt human, and the processing power is definitely decreased. So I see some questions coming in. Hi, Veronica. This is such an interesting topic. Must have been a huge learning experience for you as a mother and as a professional. It absolutely was. And I'm so grateful for it. I look back, you guys, I'm so grateful for this. It helps me support other parents. Like, at the end of the day, it's hard, especially the emotional piece. I could sit here and give you guys information all day on development or things we could do to support your kid. But often what makes the biggest difference, and I learned this lesson over and over again you know, in different ways over the years, is if you can't bond with with another parent, if I can't connect with you guys on the other side of the screen, if you don't feel like I understand where you're coming from, or that I'm living on a completely different planet, then I'm not going to help. I can't help you. You're not going to listen to me. You're going to tune me out. You're going to be like, this bee, she doesn't understand my dynamic. I've got to deal with X, Y, and Z. She's never had any problem. You know what I'm saying? And so the first way to really support any family is to have this heart to heart and this connection and be like, I feel you. Like, I've also walked through some things, and, obviously there's a spectrum and things I'll never touch or never experience or never be able to fully understand or empathize with. But like, it's important for me to share the challenges and the struggles that I move through so that you guys understand, we all on the same page. We're all dealing with our own version of challenging, but we're a community, and together we can support each other and rise and evolve and do better, right? And Jazzy said, feeling ostracized. Exactly. Thank you for that word. That word wasn't going to come to me in this state. So I appreciate that. Veronica, now that your daughter is walking, do you anticipate she will have other developmental delays, or will she catch up quickly? That's a really great question. So she still technically is getting physical therapy. Every 6 months is when a child gets reevaluated in this program. So at year 2, the PT, he could technically reevaluate her sooner if he really wanted to, decrease services, but she's going to be 2 in October, so he'll probably just wait. She actually looks like she's closing this gap. So she did not have developmental delays really in any other area. And you would just say, like, you think about walking, right? Like things that she might be doing if she started walking at, let's say, 14 months or 18 months. Well, she'd probably be running by now, right? Like maybe trying to hop on one foot or navigating the stairs and doing like one foot on one step, one foot on the other, right? Reciprocal. I see it as closing the gap significantly. You think about walking is one of those things, and even standing on your own, like that's a foundational skill. If she didn't have the balance, or she didn't have the strength, or she didn't have the body mapping or awareness of where she was in space, anything beyond standing by yourself or walking could not happen. But now that she's got the foundational skill of like the balance and the strength and the body awareness to not only stand and crouch and to walk, and now she's starting to close the gap, right? So I think she's like a week from like kind of jogging, like the messy jogging, like the drunk jogging, like she's picking up speed. So I don't see this being like an equidistance delay. She's like, okay, I get this. Now she's generalizing the skill in other aspects. So, one thing the PT was really concerned about was her ability to navigate uneven surfaces without that trunk strength and the ability to sort of like respond to shifts in her balance. But, to his surprise, she closed that gap almost immediately. Like, when she started walking, she was also walking and navigating uneven surfaces. That first clip I showed you guys, if you remember at the beginning of the stream, she was walking on like dirt and wood chips on the way to a playground. So she's really closed the gap in terms of like milestones that would be in sequential order. So that's really good news. Hi Zeta. Oh my God, I so relate to this. My son finally started walking at 14 months, and I got so targeted by my husband's family. It was so important for me to really stay strong and listen to my baby. Yes. Well, that's the other thing that I hadn't really mentioned is like the family members, right? Like forget other people. You can kind of navigate out in public where you go, how long you stop, whether you want to go to a new place, but what is actually more in front of your face and almost incessant sometimes. And most families mean well. They don't mean to be buttholes about it, but like it's the constant questions from the family members. Oh, do you think they're going to walk? And what do you think? And why? How hasn't it happened yet? And oh my goodness, like I was getting questions of like, oh, do you think Naya's like, cognitively off and all these things? And it's like, let's just focus, people. Let's focus. I'm with this girl every day. If I thought, it was deeper than this, I'd be seeking out other services. Like, nah, like we've got one thing that we're focusing on right now. She's good. We've got this. Like, everybody breathe. She's going to be okay, and then your kid starts walking and the family members, it goes quiet, right? It's not like, like, hey, I just want to acknowledge you. And I'm sorry if I said anything that was insensitive, or like, congratulations. I know how much work you put in with a therapist to get her where she is. And like, I'm just so happy, everything. No, everyone just kind of like resumes their life. Like, oh, I got cool. She's walking now on with the other kids. And it's like, they don't understand the impact of them projecting their worries and their fears and the comments that they make, while we're trying to field that. So that's something else I just want to acknowledge. Zeta, beautiful point. And again, this is why it's so important to have community, because you guys can come here. You can comment on these videos. I do my best to respond when I see you guys comment on the videos. If there's a question or you just need some support, some love, a virtual hug, I've got you guys. And something else we'll be doing more is polls. So you guys look for my polls in the community tab, because I'll be asking you what you guys want to see next, what type of content would be really helpful and supportive for you. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, because when I polled you guys about a week ago, half of you guys aren't seeing my videos. It's like almost split down the middle. Like half of you guys are like, yeah, I see your videos. And half of you are like, nah, I basically never see your videos. So if you want to see more content like this, or be in a community where we can have these open conversations, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. Does anybody help? Oh, cool. I see another question come up. Veronica, my daughter was colic at 2 months, and my sister said, oh God, she's going to be one of those annoying babies that need their mom all the time. And at 5 months, she's the most chill baby. Well, that's beautiful. Now it's radio silence from my sister. No apologies, right? Like, come on, guys. Come on. It's, again, our family, they mean well, but look, here's the deal too. We're not perfect. And whether we're aware of it or not, we've made insensitive comments. May not have been in the realm of motherhood or saying something to another parent that they may have found to be insensitive, but like, we're all human. We all mess up. And so it's like, can we extend the compassion? And can we hold a boundary powerfully? This is the other thing. Like, so much of the work that I do, you guys, in coaching and mentorship is around the self-leadership and our internal power, because we've been conditioned to not engage in any sort of conversation that might elicit conflict or might make someone else feel uncomfortable. But sometimes, in order to draw a powerful boundary that just says, hey, look, I love you, but this is where the line is for me, because I've got to keep my energy clean, and those comments don't feel good, and they're not helpful, and they're also not supportive. These are the conversations that we've got to be able and willing to have with family members, friends, people within the community, to again keep ourselves in a state where we can be present and we can anticipate our children's needs, and we can be the most supportive version of ourselves and mothers that we can possibly be. And sometimes that means having a difficult conversation with family members, right? So that's another thing. Karina, I think all families are so quick to comment and critique parents if they see something that they don't like. You know, I don't know if it's because I've gotten older, and I've also I've drawn boundaries with people, and I'm really careful. I curate. You guys, like, please don't, like, especially on social media, curate. If you can't stand seeing someone in your feed who is constantly negative or has something bad to say, delete or block or mute. Like, I really try and curate my spaces so that there is love, there's compassion, there's realness, there's an ability to be honest and have a raw, like, vulnerable, authentic conversation. But that, like, you know, truly, like, the negativity is minimal. Um and I'd like to think we're getting to a point now where, like, just the world is so wild and we're having to deal with so much that we just empathize with human beings more readily. I know it's a little, like, optimistic, because we also see people at each other's throat for the most ridiculous things. But I choose to continue to foster a world in which, like, we ultimately support one another, because we've all never had to deal with the circumstances. Like, our parents, they had their own set of circumstances, right? Our grandparents and our great grandparents. And I have so much respect, because I'll never understand what it was like for them to deal with those particular circumstances and raising children. But the same holds true for us right now, right? They could never understand what it's like to raise babies, young children in today's age where we're dealing with crazy social media, everything else, like it's sensory overload, right? So it's a different time, and we've got to be compassionate and show empathy for people. Like, bottom line, right? Well, TED Talk, I think, is over. You guys, thank you for riding with me. I'm so excited. I really love doing lives. So if you guys are enjoying the lives, let me know in a comment below. And again, if there's something specific you want to see, you can also drop it in the comment below. But I'll be doing polls to get your guys' feedback and let me know how I can support you more. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and I will chat with you guys soon. Bye.